Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is the Local Live.
Good evening, I'm Archella Milder. Welcome to Local Live. As every Thursday, we are here to report on what's happening in our community. Let's take a preview of what we will see tonight. Meet the new Executive Director of the Hispanic Resource Center, Milan Bhatt. Why are the Republicans going for re-election? Stay tuned to find out. Coming up, why did lmc-tv get nationally awarded? And why the Murphy brothers are in this week's Stay Tuned. How was your 4th of July? Stay tuned to see what some Larchmont residents did to celebrate the historic day. Meet Debbie and Deirdre, our pets of the week. Mayor Norman Rosenblum and Deputy Mayor Santoro are looking for your vote for the upcoming elections on November 3rd. If Rosenblum is elected this coming November, this will be his 4th time in office. The mayor explained the causes for re-election to the Mamaroneck Review. The reason I want to run again, quite honestly, is the positive feedback we get from people. Rosenblum explains how proud he is of the development in the village of Mamaroneck during his term. Quote, "There's a tremendous amount of development that's going on, and we're doing it very successfully, with a real key, which I believe is maintaining the character and quality of life in the village of Mamaroneck," end quote. If you want to find out more details regarding Rosenblum and Santoro's plan for re-election, check out the MamaronecReview.com. lmc-tv's own producers, Dina Schumacher and Andre Gordon, along with several youth volunteers, produced their own Lego stop-motion animation short film called Motions in History of the Sound Shore, a program that tells the story of Mamaroneck in a funny way. The Alliance for Community Media, a national organization that recognizes public, educational, and governmental TV stations, hosted its annual Hometown Media Awards and recognized the talent of our lmc-tv producers. On August 13th, Dina Schumacher and Andre Gordon will receive an award for the Best Children's Program. To learn more about the history of Mamaroneck, told as a Lego story, check out the short at lmc-tv.org. 2 of the Murphy brothers' contracting sites in Mamaroneck won the New York Prize Mamaroneck Grid competition. This competition supports a new generation of community-based power under Governor Cuomo's Reforming the Energy Vision strategy. Today, Cuomo announced that approximately $100,000 each will be given to 83 communities across the state to support the microgrid projects. 2 of these projects have their sites in Mamaroneck by the Murphy brothers contracting, making Mamaroneck a double winner in the New York State Prize Microgrid contest. Now it's time to check out what's trending in our local newspapers. Here's Chris Pellegrini with In the Media.
Hello, I'm Chris Pellegrini and this is In the Media. Within a 2-hour period, 2 different car crashes occurred at 2 different CVS stores in Larchmont. This led to both CVS stores closing for the remainder of the day. Larchmont police are still investigating the 2 separate accidents. For more info, head on over to News 12. Are you a teenager who drives? Well, AAA has come out with a new teen crash study compiled of data using 1,700 videos of teen drivers crashing. The data was astonishing to AAA. They found that 58% of all accidents included distraction by cell phones, while 89% of all road departure accidents and 76% of all rear-end crashes involved cell phone distraction. For more info, visit the Daily Voice. There are several outdoor movies this week which are on display at parks throughout Westchester County. The movies will take place from July 8th through the 29th. The movies will allow for after-hour swimming and picnicking. You will be able to bring your own food or purchase some at the concession stands available. The movie will begin at sundown. For more information, head on over to the Loop NY. There is a new candy store in Larchmont called Sweets. It is located in the former Sweet and Social Spot on Palmer Avenue. This store opened June 20th. The owner, Tracy Doyle, is a New Rochelle resident and has several years of experience in the business world. She has another candy store in the same name in New Preston, Connecticut. She has already booked several parties for both adults and kids, as well as camp packages. Head on over to the Daily Voice for more information. On Saturday 11th, the second annual Mamaroneck Guitar Show is going to be from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on 604 Mamaroneck Avenue. There will be several rare models and accessories sold by Music Arts. Some of these models include vintage guitars. For more information, visit the Daily Voice. And those were just some of the news items we found in the media this week. Reporting for the Local Live, I'm Chris Pellegrini.
Thanks, Chris. Did someone say trivia time? That's right. Let's see if you can guess the answer.
Oh, we're on. Well, good evening. I'm Michael Witch, and welcome to the Roundtable section of the Local Live. Do you know that for 17 years, the Hispanic Resource Center has been helping new immigrants, Hispanic immigrants in particular, get integrated into our established community? And right now they have a new executive director, and it's my great pleasure to welcome him to the Local Live. And you are Milan Bhatt.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Mike. It's an honor.
You're welcome. Now, I said to you before we started that Bhatt doesn't sound very Hispanic to me, and you said
It's in fact a name of Indian origin. I'm a first-generation immigrant myself, and I've spent the better part of the last 10 years on the front line of the immigrant rights movement here in New York State. And so I've had the great opportunity to work with and to advocate on behalf of Latino communities in New York City, around the state. And I'm just so eager to have that opportunity here in Westchester and Mamaroneck.
And you were just appointed back in June, so you're just a month into the new job.
Little over a month, and never a dull day, never a dull month, certainly not my first, and just feel really at home. I have really a great staff and board, and we're so lucky to have the support of the community and so many stakeholders.
Now, you've got some great news right off the bat. You're moving into a new home.
I do. We are going to be moving to what was formerly known as the CAP Center. It's at 134 Center Ave.
Right.
So really a hip, just a couple of stone throws from where we are now.
Right.
But we're really excited because it's going to be an opportunity for us to do even more than we've been doing, to engage the community through our current programs and many more. And we're also excited to be able to continue to have, and we're going to have as tenants, the Head Start program. I think a lot of people are familiar with the great work they do. It's, of course, the federally mandated program, providing such basic food, to people who need it.
Sure.
And also, so the food pantry and to have the Head Start as well as the food pantry, both of which have shown great leadership and have been there so long, have been such an important part of the community. We're thrilled to be able to partner with them and actually be housed in the same space.
So is the CAP Center being absorbed by the Hispanic Resource Center, or are you going to be more partners in the same home, let's say?
So we are going to be owning the building. We own the building right now. We're going to be moving and fully operational by the 1st of August. And so, as I mentioned, we're going to have as tenants these two programs and continue on. But we are currently the owners of the space. And we're really eager to hear feedback from the community. I've already been approached by various local officials and community members with just amazing ideas about what we can do beyond what we're already doing. And we take those ideas and that feedback really seriously. And we know that the next era of HRC is very much going to be around that space and how we use it.
And for those people who want to know more about HRC before they drop into your new place, I guess you're going to have an open house at some point, I would hope.
We are going to have an open house for
Good.
sure.
Good.
And it's going to be in early September,
Good.
probably just right after Labor Day, more or less. And we're going to let everyone know exactly when it's going to be. We encourage people to come join us, have some finger foods, and let us hear what you think. And let us show you who we are, because ultimately we are here to serve the community. We've been doing it for, as you mentioned, 17 years. I have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of ideas about what we can do in addition to what we're already doing. and we want the community voice to be an integral part of that trajectory.
Now, HRC has a website that people can go to now.
We do. It's www.hrclm.org. And we're going to continue with the website, and people can log on and just find out all sorts of information. We also have a phone number, 914-835-1512. And so we're typically open 6 days a week, if not 7, and for most hours of the day. We have a great staff, and we'd love to kind of hear what you have to say.
Good. I want to remind the audience that, as always, on our roundtable segment, we can accept your emails and your tweets and phone calls. If you have a question for our guest, Milan Bhatt, the new Executive Director of the Hispanic Resource Center. So feel free to contact us and ask your questions or make your comments. In the meantime, the website says that, I believe it was last year, you served something in the neighborhood of 3,500 people.
We typically have served between 3,000 and 4,000 individuals. A lot of the individuals are clients. We have various pillars, as we like to call them, of the organization, and one of them is our case management, through which we provide services, ranging from immigration services, family matters, housing needs, public benefits, et cetera, and an emergency fund for people who really are desperate and who need help. So, you know, that's definitely something that we're proud of. And we also serve and reach people through various public events and through our educational programs, which includes a very strong workforce development program. So we have taught people how to learn their trade, whether it's construction or domestic work. We provide adult literacy classes, and we also teach young people and empower them through our civic engagement program.
Well, back in '98, when HRC was formed, it was a big focus of it was to help workers who were being, I think it's fair to say, exploited sometimes. And they would, the men who were looking for day work would gather in the park, and contractors would come and pick them up. But it was not organized. And there was a lot of community discussion around that, and thus the worker element of HRC was born. But that's now different, because now you're training workers as well?
We are training workers, but Mike, the reality is that workers continue to be exploited. It's something that's a real issue, and we take it very seriously. So another one of our pillars will continue to be our worker center. And in fact, in all the thinking that's gone into our new space, we know that we are going to have a worker center, and it's going to be accessible from the street. A lot of the contractors, a lot of the private homes who engage us, reach out by phone, or sometimes they'll show up in a truck. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that, to the extent that we are pairing up day laborers or domestic workers, as it were, with employers, that we go through certain steps to make sure that the workplace relationship, whether it be in a home or at a construction site or what have you, is one that adheres to basic labor standards. So we welcome that. It's a big part of who we are. We consider ourselves to be a hiring hall in addition to our other programs. But make no mistake about it, if we learn that there's going to be exploitation at a particular site, regardless of who the employer is, we're going to take that very seriously. And if that means we need to get involved in some sort of legal recourse, that is something that we do. Currently, we do it out of house, but we wouldn't rule out the possibility of actually doing it in-house someday.
There's a question that we had, actually we received it before the show started, and it's an email, and it asks about the cap before you got there, and how, I would say, how vigilant and protective of the Latino community the CAP Center was. And the question is, are you going to be as vigilant and protective, even though it might potentially decrease your popularity or affect your funding?
I think Mike, we're always going to stay true to our principles and our values that have been thought out for, the better part of a generation. I mentioned earlier how much we value the feedback we get from communities. We like to think and really believe that we don't arbitrarily choose the issues and the programs that we hold near and dear. There's a reason why we exist. There's a reason why we have the programs. There's a reason why we take stances on certain positions. And so we understand that sometimes those positions are not going to be popular. I think it would be grossly irresponsible for us to cower down and say that the reason we're going to change course on a particular issue is because the public opinion doesn't necessarily support it at any point in time. Like anything else, public opinion can sway. Like anything else, our own stance can be tailored or modified. But when it comes to nuts and bolts issues, whether it's worker exploitation, whether it's the chronic need of services, assistance, education, these are basic services that reflect basic values. And I can't imagine us ever abandoning those.
Well, actually, you were in the news recently. I saw a press release where you were one of several people calling for the New York Senate to give a vote to the Farm Worker Fair Labor Practices Act. Did that happen yet?
You know, there's so many issues that matter, and that's an issue that actually I've been working on for about 10 years now. Sad to say, we haven't seen the action that we want from the state Senate. And I don't want to.
This is a measure that's passed in the Assembly already.
It has passed numerous times in the Assembly. We'd like to hope that we have Governor Cuomo's support. He's done so much for our communities. We believe that this is an issue where we'd like him to be a little bit more bold. And we definitely would want to make sure that the leadership of the Senate acts responsibly. There are other states, very few, but states like California that have done the right thing on that bill. And just so folks know, what we're dealing with here, what we're talking about, is nothing more than just making sure that migrant workers have the same basic labor rights and protections as any other workers. We did it for domestic workers in 2010, and there's no reason why we can't do it for migrant workers now.
What's the tie-in, though, if I may ask, between that bill and Larchmont Mamaroneck and the things that we buy? Is there?
Sure.
They provide the produce that we see in our
That's
stores?
right. And we were out in the farmers market talking to people. I mean, it's about making sure consumers and buyers understand the full chain of events that leads from the production of their food, even pre-production, to its trajectory into a restaurant or their kitchen table. So people understand that there are injustices that are integrally wrapped up in that chain. And it's those injustices that we want people to be aware of. And it's those injustices that we want our government to address.
I'm told we have an email, so if you'll hold on for a second, just while I manipulate my little iPad here, and let's see if I can get this. Well, I think it just disappeared. I am sorry. Could you send that email one more time, viewer? I apologize for my ineptitude with this thing. You were talking about the farm workers bill. So your hopes are fairly high that the Senate will do the right thing?
You know, we like to, well, we have to be nonpartisan. That's who we are as a nonprofit. And again, it's important. I don't want to finger point. And but we know the trend. We know that Democrats have been much more supportive through their votes. It's been a harder sell for Republicans. I believe there's only been a half a dozen Republicans in the last 10 years who've said we don't want modern day slavery in New York State. This is New York. This is 2015, but too many representatives are still siding with the history of this bill, of the exclusion. And that history basically was when in the 1930s this country said that we do not want to allow black people to have the same rights as white people. And that discrimination, that form of discrimination, has carried down from generation to generation and still exists in our state law today. And so Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. All we're saying is people need to know the impetus behind this exclusion, where it comes from, why it's so vicious, and why it needs to end. Okay,
you said the word Republican, and as soon as I hear that, I'm thinking of Donald Trump and the comment that he made. Do you have any reaction to that we can fit into our little discussion today? Where
I think it's very relevant, Mike. Yeah. I think it was a divisive comment. You know, we were talking a little bit earlier. Of course, you know, part of the attention paid is that NBC and its and Univision, who we work closely with as a media ally, has dropped him. You know, one need look nothing more than at the words themselves. These were not words that were designed to put forth a message of unifying communities. These were not statements that were made in reflection of the reality, the statistical, the empirical reality, which is that, for instance, he talks about crime. Well, Donald Trump doesn't know that statistically immigrants are less likely to commit crimes. As we sit here today, he still doesn't know it. So when you speak irresponsibly, and when you're someone at that magnitude, at that level, he talks about the economy, doesn't realize that undocumented immigrants, now he'll use words like illegal, we hear that. Rhetoric is important to us, how we speak is important to us, but you go to the core of what he was trying to say, it reflects a naivete, a fundamental ignorance of the reality that immigrants, especially undocumented immigrants, are paying much more through taxes, sales taxes, through Social Security, than they're reaping in rewards. Why? Because this government says they're not eligible for food stamps. They're not eligible for health care. Most Americans don't know that, and it's really important that they do.
I think there is a perception out there that people, that immigrants, especially undocumented immigrants, are eligible for all kinds of benefits, and yet they don't contribute to society. And what you're saying
simply not the case.
It's just the opposite. The question did come in. I finally got it in print. Thank you. Former Executive Director Zoe Cologne, who you followed, was pushing for the opening of a Mamaroneck Avenue school-based health center. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, well, so
that was called Open Door.
The Open Doors proposal was one I think we all know generated a lot of discourse, a lot of debate. It's still something we're looking at, but very strongly support. I think oftentimes the devil is in the details, but we very much support the intentions of the program. We know that it's nothing radical. I think a lot of people, again, don't necessarily understand that what we're talking about is something that has been shown to be in the best interest from a public health perspective. So for us, it's important, if we're going to have a discussion, that it's a well-informed discussion, that we strip away a lot of the kind of divisive mentality that goes into people's viewpoints, and that we say, well, let's roll up our sleeves and let's figure this out. As far as we stand, there hasn't been a resolution. We hope there is a resolution that we can be a part of, and that we're looking at the facts and we're looking at the greater public good.
Well, speaking about the schools, kids in the schools are so important, as we all know. And over the years, there have been discussions about the success of the Hispanic students in, let's say, the high schools. So we have Mamaroneck High School, Rhinebeck High School. Have you been engaged in conversations yet, or do you plan to have conversations with, like, the principals and the counselors there to see the level of achievement that these students have and the opportunity? Are they given an equal opportunity? Are they given any extra help or enough extra help if they need it?
You know, I had a great meeting with the superintendent of the Rhinebeck district, along with some of the others.
Yes.
And I was very impressed, you know, as I had been with so many of the conversations I've had with people who we've worked with, and he's one that I'd hope we could work more with. They were very transparent about you know, the statistics and the data, and the fact that we can do better. They're doing great things there at the school, throughout the district. So to be specific, one of the ideas that I thought was a phenomenal idea was to encourage some of the AP students, the AP Spanish students, to enter into a mentor type framework with some of the youth, and to also get the parents engaged through that. And so a commitment I made right there on the spot was, well, let's use our center. And that's something that I think would be great. And so we just want to keep reminding people that we know that we want to continue and strengthen our programs. But that's a great example where people have ideas, whether it's within the school system or from labor unions or what have you. But we're open to those ideas. And education, Mike, is just paramount to us. And so I am hopeful. And I think through that mentorship program, we've had a great intern from Rhinebeck, from the high school. We hope to have more interns and create more and more opportunities for there to be meaningful engagement. And same goes for Mamaroneck.
Have you had a chance to meet with the Mamaroneck people yet?
I'd like to.
It's only been a month. You can't talk to everybody.
You know, I've had a few conversations, but I'd like to sit down with the superintendent, with some of the principals. You know, one of the issues that's been really important to us, we've been very supportive of the UPK, the Universal Pre-Kindergarten. We understand that there are some budget issues that we hope can get resolved. We want to make sure that our communities, as far as we know, will continue to be reliant on transportation, on busing. So we want to make sure that we are able to meet the needs of their young ones, to be able to let their young ones apprise themselves of this program, and really look at options. If it's not a bus, let's look at a van. Let's figure it out. So that's really our approach towards issues. We're not going to sacrifice on our values. We want the government and we want the public at large to support our issue, our mission. But we're not going to be obstinate about that. We want to hear viewpoints, and even if we disagree, let's find a way to have those discussions and look at the facts and find solutions that work for everyone.
Now, one of the things that you're getting ready for is a big celebration. Isn't it Hispanic heritage? We
are. In addition to the celebration of our move that we talked about, there's going to be a major celebration that takes place every year. It's a festival. I think we're going to see, the viewers can see on the screen, it's going to be in Valhalla. Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. That's July 19th.
And it's right at the Kensico Dam Plaza there, I believe.
It's a beautiful space,
yes.
And we're going to be there.
And it's going to be sunny that day, right?
It's going to be sunny. I got the text message and the email and all that.
You are connected. You are connected.
Which,
you have talked to everybody, yes.
But it's important that people know that they're welcome. This is not just for the Latino community, and it's a great way for businesses. We've gotten sponsors lining up, and we hope that more and more businesses, especially small businesses, will understand it's an opportunity to promote their own business interests as well. So again, you have a win-win situation.
And what time is it? Is it all day?
It's going to be from 12 to 7. So pretty much a nice Sunday in the park. There's going to be food, entertainment. There's going to be music, all sorts of things. We're going to be there. So we hope you can join us. And it's free of cost.
That's great. That's great. I wanted to mention one other celebration. And I know I have a little piece of paper reminding me of it here, but I can't seem to find it in this mess. But tomorrow, there's a ticker tape parade in New York City. The Canyon of Heroes for the Women's Cup. The U.S. team, Team USA, won the World's Cup.
Go USA.
I think it's 11 o'clock is the parade, and at 1 o'clock there is a ceremony on the steps of City Hall, I believe. So we wanted to make sure that we get that celebration
Will you be there,
news
Mike?
in there. Unfortunately, I cannot make it. I have to do a physical therapy appointment, keeping my bod in shape. But I congratulate those women athletes, and I congratulate you too on your new position. And thank you for being our guest today. And please feel free at any time to take advantage of the Local Live and LMC-TV. And we hope to be one of your ardent supporters.
Thank you. Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity, Mike. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good night. And folks, stay tuned because there's more Local Live coming up right now.
You're watching The Local Live,
the only news show on Larchmont and Mamaroneck on LMC-TV.
Let's turn to Kat Galliano to find out what Larchmont residents did to celebrate their 4th of July.
This past 4th of July, the Larchmont Recreation Committee sponsored a relay race at Flint Park for both children and adults.
Ready, set, go!
There they go. It's a photo. Look at them go now. Look at them go.
The race began at 10 a.m. and was packed with kids all day. After the final relay, sprinklers were turned on to cool down the kids and refreshments were served. State Senator George Latimer made an appearance at the event and shared some remarks.
There's historic readings on the village green, and Mamaroneck is a blessing of the fleet. And here you have something that engages all young families, of which there are plenty of in Larchmont. So it's really a great tradition.
The fun continued at Manor Park with live music featuring the Dixie Dandies, followed by fireworks at dusk.
Happy 4th of July!
For the Local Live, this is Kat Galliano.
Meet Debbie and Deirdre, the sweetest, gentlest, and most adorable pups. They're looking for a forever home, so if you can help or know someone looking for a pet, contact Pet Rescue at www.ny-petrescue.org. It's been a pleasure, as always, to keep you updated with your community news. Don't forget to check out our website for more news and community programming, www.lmc-tv.org. And for internships and volunteer opportunities, please write us at thelocallive@lmc-tv.org. That's the news for today. I'm Marcella Milder. See you next week.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.